Okay, welcome back to Make Your Locos How-Tos. Today we're going to show you how to change an air filter on an Aprilaire 5000 electronic air cleaner unit. Now this one is absolutely packed. They usually last about a year, and they'll tell you right here on the control panel that it needs to be changed as a filter minder on there. Also what will happen is it'll turn off the electronic part of the air cleaner here to prevent any kind of fires or arcing, anything like that inside of there. So you want to make sure you have the air filter on hand. You can get these from Amazon. I'll put a link down below in the video description so you guys have a quick link to that. And they have them for just about cheaper than anywhere else, even a brick and mortar store or other online sources. So make sure you have this on hand. And it's always a good idea to have a vacuum cleaner on hand with a bristle brush. So once we pull the panel off here and the cartridge out, we can clean inside of that housing on there, and of course the cartridge itself, before putting it all back together. So the first thing you want to do is turn off the power to the furnace here, and that usually cuts power to this right here, depending how it's wired in. So we'll turn the switch off on here. There's a service switch right on the side. And as a precaution, you see the AC wire coming out of here. Follow it over to where it's plugged in, and we can disconnect that also. Make sure we're extra safe on here. So we got disconnected, and the power's off to the furnace so it doesn't come on. And we're going to start taking apart the front panel on here. You simply lift up on this, and you can see it's already almost falling out of there. So we'll take it off, and there's one at the bottom too. And for mine, since it's all stapled in and secured the wire like this, we're just going to flip it to the side and get it out of the way. After that, this cartridge right here, it simply pulls out. It has a handle on it and everything. So let's pull it out straight. And you'll see dust bunnies every freaking where on here. And that's the reason for the vacuum. Get this thing nice and clean before going back in. So take it out, and we'll lay it down like this to keep all the dirt kind of trapped in there. And you can see how bad this one is on here. Okay, so before we start taking apart any of this on here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean it with the vacuum so we can get all these dust bunnies and clumps of garbage off here. They're going to be on the side here, on this side, and the front. There's going to be everywhere on here, so we're going to clean them off so you don't just start putting them everywhere in the house here. After it's all clean, we can simply slide this grate off of here, and once you do so, it's probably a good idea to flip it over like this and get the back side of the vacuum too. Or a lot of people take this to the bathtub and they just wash it out very gently, don't ruin anything on it, so they get it ultra clean on there. Either way is okay. Now what you'll notice on the inside here, now that we have access to it, is it's full of dust and dirt also. It's all stuck to the plastic and inside of here. So what I do is at this point, I'm going to take the vacuum, I'm going to clean it again on the inside here. Just be very careful of these very fine wires in here that are the charging wires. You don't want to break any of those. So just be very careful and clean the plastic before you start taking the whole thing apart. Okay, this is where it's going to get a little dirty. We're actually going to flip this over, and you can see everything's caught on this side, so stuff may fall out, so just be ready for that. Work in an area that you don't mind getting too dirty. And flip it over like that. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull out each one of these dividers on here. What this does is it keeps all these pleats evenly divided, so you want to make sure they all go back in. And we're going to take those out first. See, pull up on the ends on there. We can take them out. They should be clean because they're on the clean side of the filter on here. Now, one note, when I first got my air cleaner brand new out of the box, I believe and I was going to install it, they include this cartridge replacement in here, this actual air filter, with the air cleaner unit. And mine had slits in it right here where it curves over like that, it creases. So you want to inspect your new filter, and if you just bought one of these, you want to inspect the one that came with the unit for install to make sure that it's actually sealing up on there. Now, a good indication is the fact that all these are perfectly clean on the backside, so there's nothing really getting through without even checking anything. I can tell that. Now, once all the dividers are out, all you got to do is press in these side buttons right here. You'll see them, these little tabs, these circles, half circles, both sides, okay? You're going to push in on them, and you're going to pull the side off of here. Same thing on the other side. Now, the air filter media is almost free of the housing on here. There's a rib right here on both sides. It's like a locking tang, okay? You simply lift up on it. It just snaps into place. Both sides, okay? Follow along, pick up on it. And then this thing will come up and off of there. It does hook onto it. So you just lift up and over, and it'll come off. And that's it. This thing is free and clear. So at this point, you want to be very careful with it so that you don't knock any of the dust off of it. So you can kind of collapse it together, pick it up, and flip it over right away, and keep all that stuff collected in there and get rid of it. Now, before going back in, again, you want to clean the housing on here with the vacuum. Be very careful of these charging wires once again. Especially clean these end pieces on here. These seem to collect a lot of garbage on the end of them. So clean them up very good, and the charging wires very carefully, and we can start putting that new media filter back in here. Okay, let's open this new filter here. Let's start laying it in there. And be very careful with it so you don't crush it. Okay. There we go. So he's laid in there, and then the ends of it here, they hook into the sides of the unit here. And there's little holes in the ends of it, so it fits in there. There's a tab right here, you'll be able to see it, and there's a hole right here, a slit in the filtered media, and you see it hooks into there and it locks into place. And there's one down there also on both sides. Let's evenly space this out and get in there. And that'll give us the initial alignment on there for this filter. Get everything spaced out properly. Okay, now once you have the media in here evenly side to side on here, what you can do is start closing these down and locking it in place on here. So we're going to make sure it's good. Okay, and we're going to lock it in. Same thing over here. You can see they made this pretty user-friendly. There's just a few steps in here. Now before closing the ends on here and making it all tight and everything else, what you want to do is space the pleats first and make sure they're all spaced out properly. It's like a freaking comb. And we need to get them in here and spaced out perfectly before you start closing the ends on the filter housing here. So the first one or two, it's going to take a little bit to get all these lined up properly. Dogs? Okay, we have all the slits matched with the comb on here, and what I like to do is something like this. And we can start straightening out the other side, just like that. See that? Now they're all even. So you put the new ones in, the additional ones in down here. Like here's the next spot. Right here, there's slits in there. There's little notches in the housing here. That's where each one of them goes. Boom. And that's how easy it can be once you get it aligned on there. Like so. Nice and even. Nice and even. Nice and easy. This way. And this is the best way I found to do these after doing them for a few years now on this unit. Okay, at this point, everything's aligned perfectly on here. We can simply close the ends on here. Just make sure we're not crushing anything. Should be evenly spaced. And just push them in until it pops. And make sure it's locked into there. Now this side, right here, with this mesh right here, this screen type material, you want to make sure it lays flat against the paper pleat that has part of the charging for the media in here for the positive and the negative on there. So besides that, besides making sure that's touching, you simply snap it in once again. Give a look, see, make sure it's all in there. At this point, it's done. Now at this point with the air filter reassembled, what I like to do is go inside here with the vacuum and clean the inside of the housing here and the front door on here and make sure everything seals properly going back together and nothing gets past this area on here. So it's real quick. Okay, let's not forget our grate. Slide that back in. Everything's cleaned up. Filter's changed. We can put this baby back together. Okay. Here we go. Now, of course, the unit goes in just like this, handle out, okay, and the grate and all the charging wires go on this side. And then it just simply slides back into place. Has the little channel inside of there. Okay, nice and straight in there. All our tangs are still here that transfer electricity and until the doors close and stuff like that. So let's flip it around, put it on here correctly and square. Give it a little tug top and bottom and make sure it's on there correctly all the way around. Okay, at this point the unit is back together fully, top and bottom. It's all square, it's back on there correctly. Make sure your switch for the unit is back to the on position so the actual electronic part of it works upon turning the system back on here. Plug it back in if you unplugged it, and we can turn our furnace back on. Okay, and the unit should come alive over here on the control panel. And then down below here, the little blue symbol should also show, showing the electronic part inside of there is turned on and working properly. At this point, for me personally, I put it on constant clean for the day, a couple hours, 8 hours, whatever, and let the air really run through the new filter on here and get the house really cleaned up. Okay, now one of the last things you need to do is reset the filter minder on here. There's a button right down here. It says to hold it for 5 seconds. Now mine was obviously changed out already, and you can see it says new on there. Usually the bar will be fully filled up and flashing when it's due for a filter change on there. That's about it. That's all there is to changing one of these air filters out on here. I'll put links down below for the air filter media, the correct one from Amazon, and you can get it coming straight to your door for ultra cheap. It's probably the best price I've found all over the web, like I said earlier. So I'll link to that down below. Just be careful with the pleats, be careful with the charging wires, all that other stuff. Just be neat and mindful about it and clean about it, and you can do this in about 10 to 15 minutes and get your system back up and running for another full year.